All right, so right now we are in class 1, exercise 9. So we are going to be working on class 1, exercise 9, and this took a bit of time to, I'm not gonna lie, it took me starting from scratch and coming in cold, maybe a couple hours to figure it all out. So I will tell you what I did, and I solved both of these problems at the same time, and hopefully this helps you out. Number one is the idle uh, timeout. So if somebody's idle for a few seconds, for a few minutes, for a few hours, it logs them out. And also there's a session must end, period, end of story, at the end of 24 hours, it says here. Obviously, I'm not going to wait 24 hours, so I made my numbers a lot smaller. I think I made it like 20 seconds for the idle timeout and 40 seconds for the maximum session lifetime. So what I did here, just so you know, I did actually go through and watch lecture 25 and 26. They were very helpful. I didn't implement it exactly like they said. I pretty much did, but I added a bunch of extra code. So there's only 3 lines of code there. I think I probably wrote about 50 lines of code. So first thing I did is I created a plan for myself. Number one is to add these columns for the timestamp and the various timestamps in the database. Then the second thing, I kind of worked backwards. I said I needed that in the database. Then I said I need uh, a function to update this timestamp every single time. Maybe a couple of functions in my case, one for the I'm going to call it the O time or the S time for the session time, and one for the original time of the session. So I call them S time for the session time and O time for S time for the session updated every single time, and one O time for the original time of the session. So those are my two different variables. And then I skipped the logout portion. I'm not doing anything with the logout. I should be zeroing it out and removing the session ID. I haven't done that. And then at login, obviously, I need to, once the session is validated, I need to create these timestamps and update the timestamps. And then I also need to update these timestamps, or at least the S time in every single page load. And so that's what we're going to look at. So first of all, I ran these two particular queries to alter the users table. And so if we look at the user table, select star from users, you notice that S time and O time got created in the table. Then I updated some functions in the DB functions file. So if we go look here at the DB functions, I created three, excuse me, three new functions. So this one, update session ID for users was already there. Um, I added these three here, these three. So update login ID, login time in the DB, and update timestamp. The idea with update login time in the DB is to update the one time when the session starts, whenever I log in. So notice it updates the O time, the original time of the session. And it's not the most sophisticated and not the most error-proof method in the world, but it basically says if you give me a username, I will update the O time with the current timestamp. So I get the time now from the time function and I stick it in a thing called O time. The timestamp one updates the timestamp. This is going to be called more frequently, so it updates every time on every page load, and it takes the time now and updates the S time or the session time, the last time I used the session in the database. So these two methods get called all the time to update these two columns for a specific user, these two columns for the specific user in the database. I also created a checker to say, has the session timeout been reached, yes or no? Uh, and excuse the grammar here, is session timeouts reached? Sounds a bit like Spanish or some weird other language accent, or somebody from a different country speaking, but uh, that one made sense to me. So I have two. I have the last time. Um, so I have the time now. So whenever I come into the method, I say, here's what the time now is. Plus, I go back and check what was the last time in the original time. The last time is the S time, and original time is the original time of the session. I set them to 0 just to be sure that they're very, very far in the past. They're essentially, this is basically saying January 1st, 1970. And time now should be, a whole bunch of seconds after the 1970. Um, this is really annoying. This whole US thing, go away. Go away. Yes, I get it. It's US language. Yes, you want to be aware. Okay. I don't know why that matters to you. Okay. Then I go through the database and pull the whole record for the username. And from the result set, I pull out two particular numbers. I pull S time and O time. And last time and original time, last time and original time, I pull them out here. And I define my timeouts for S time and for O time as 20 seconds and 40 seconds. And I do the calculation. I start with the biggest one first. So if the max timeout is reached, then I quit because of that. If the session time is reached, then I quit because of that. Otherwise, I just say, no, it hasn't been reached yet. The session is still active. So that's it. Those are the methods I've used. Now I've had to implement these in a couple of files, but let's go back to our checklist here and see if we did. So we did this one. This is good. So it says okay. Then we create the function to do the timestamp. So that's okay. I showed you this, so the check-in. Now let me show you how this got implemented in all the at login and in every other file. So you'll see it here, the DB functions. It's already copy and pasted the functions that I showed you, the three of them. Now let's look at login web app. That was the first one, right? That was the one that does the login. So I've added two methods there. So here was login web app. I left everything exactly the way it was. I just added these two particular, uh, these two methods. It already had the update session ID for user. I said, oh, by the way, now that we've logged in, right, because it says authentication successful. After authentication successful, I added the timestamp and the original login time, the session timestamp and the original. I updated those with the current time, and then I let it do its thing. That's all I did. I didn't change anything else. That's it. Just so you know, there is some issues here with, in some cases, I had to include the DB functions because the inconsistencies in how this code is implemented. I'm trying to remember if I had to add it here or not. No, I literally just added those two lines and that was it. Okay. And then in the regular, so regular and admin interfaces are the two pages that we use all the time. And so regular interface, I added this particular check here. This check, I've had to add these define host, connect to database because they didn't exist in this file. And so I had to add them in here. This was a bit unfortunate. I shouldn't have to have this password in every file, but that's a different problem. And I basically said if is session timeout reached, then just die session max timeout. If not, if we don't die, I mean, probably this could be handled better, but if we don't die, then please update the session timestamp. And I should be doing that in every, so I do the checking here and I do the updating here. Checking, updating, checking, updating. Same thing in the admin interface. If you look here, I do again the checking and the updating. This is the last thing I do before I show the HTML. I did have to add here this retrieve the username because nothing else was retrieving the username up above, even though the cookie was being called here. So I used the exact same cookie to retrieve the username from the cookie. Um, and I did the checking and the timestamp update. In this particular file, I think, if I remember correctly, so regular interface and the admin interface, I did have to define these at the beginning and connect to the database because that wasn't happening, and I had to comment the existing, this function was defined twice, one in the DB functions and one in this particular file. So I commented out the DB functions one, and I had to add connect to the database. And I also had to define a password and include my DB function so that the function is not twice, etc. So this was just because the code is a little quirky. But eventually, like I said, I added the cookie retrieval here, and I added these 3 lines to check and to update. So let me show you those. So again, an admin interface, just at the beginning, I had to add, I think these may have already been here. If not, I had to add them, and I had to add this include. I had to add the include because I didn't want to use the same function that was here in the file. This is a duplicate. So I commented this out, but if I commented out, I had to call it somewhere, so I called it here. Probably I could have called it lower, I don't know. I probably could have put the call here after main code. So let me show you what it looks like with 20 and 40 seconds. So if I go here, no, that's not where I want to go. Now you're going to see all my screens now. Okay, well, okay, here we are. Sorry about that. So if I come here and I go to web app, yes, we know that. Login web app. I did not, maybe I need to change web app as well. But if I log in as admin, Sunshine, I log in and I'm refreshing the page. I'm hitting Control R, and let's look in the database. You will see I'm logged in as admin, so we should see this changing. If I keep refreshing and I run this again, you will see that for admin, it changed the session time changed from what is it, 85 to 95, but the original session time was still 378. It's still 378. That hasn't updated. So if I keep refreshing, it was 20 seconds. So session timed out. You notice that's the problem, right? And then it also says the max. So the max was also reached, and so that's the second check. But I want to actually see the max timeout come up first. So I'm going to log in first, and admin Sunshine, and let's mark it here at 45 after. Okay, and log in. So now I'm going to update this a couple of times until the top of the minute here. And let's see, this also changed, notice, yeah. And okay, so now I'm going to let it sit for 40 seconds, which is what my timeout is here, right? It's 40 seconds, so I'm going to let it sit for about 45 seconds and then refresh, and I should see max timeout be the first one this time. Not session, but the max one should be hit first. That's why I put them in the order from largest to smallest. So wait another 15-20 seconds here. I'm not refreshing on purpose right now because if I refresh, I'll be updating the session first. Okay, so now it's been more than 40 seconds. If I refresh now, max timeout should come first. There you go. Max timeout came out first. Obviously, I probably don't want to have this output it there because it tells me which session, so I don't want to have too much information to the end user, but I had to check it for myself. And so that's it. That's how you do exercise number 9. Hopefully that helps. Take care.